Greetings, space travelers, and welcome to another tutorial on Organian's puzzle box of our space creation scene. In this particular one, I'm going to show you how to easily create a sky atmosphere for your planets in Unreal Engine. Now, this is quite useful when you already are using the sky atmosphere that Unreal Engine ships with, and you want to have extra ones for your planets in the scene. This does not provide you with the same effect of a sky atmosphere if you're on the ground level on a landscape. This is purely for your planets in space, so they have their own sort of rings of emission that comes from an atmosphere. So if you would want to add multiple planets to your scene and you want to have sky atmospheres everywhere and you don't want to sink a lot of money into a project from Unreal Engine Marketplace that can allow you to do that, then you can try this sort of trick that I'm going to show you to get a quick result. Again, it's not perfect, but it does have its advantages and it can definitely be improved further with some additional tweaking. This is using a Niagara particle system and a material that's quite basic and quite simple to set up. So I'm going to show you that, I'm going to show you how to do it. If you want to get this space scene, you can go on my ArtStation or on my Gumroad page, and you can actually, buy them from there for the price of a cup of coffee. You can get everything that this project has to offer, apart from my little spaceship and the flight module. I'm actually still working on that, but it will be in a future release for definite. And I'm actually thinking of adding it to my existing projects as well in the future. But I first need to get it ready, and I need to have a proper ship in there. You can also go and become a Patreon. Patrons do help me a lot because they are a constant continuous sort of revenue for me and for my work, and I keep updating Patreon with a lot of this content. You can get it from there, so with a very small price you can actually pretty much get the content that you want anyway. So without any further delays, let's begin the tutorial, and you guys let me know in the comment sections below what we can do to improve this, and if you have any feedback for me. If you like the content, please leave a like, a comment about it, and subscribe to it. But yeah, let's begin. We're starting off in the scene as per usual with a bit of a breakdown, just to try and show you guys what the scene is all about and what we're trying to achieve. As you can see, I'm currently flying towards the neutron star, but I'm just going to go for this asteroid field, and you can see the atmosphere, one of the atmospheres over there. That's actually the atmosphere that's around the neutron star right now, that glow. And then you can see that this planet in front of me, and then further over there is another atmosphere that is supposed to be, the light is supposed to be to shine on it from the sun, but whatever, it wouldn't shine. So if it's opposing the light, then there would be a shadow. And I'm just flying through this scene a little bit just to give you an idea of the scope and what you can do in it. You can see those atmospheres over there again. And this is me just flying through, hopefully giving you a bit of dizziness as I do this. I've just passed through a few asteroids. I'm not really good at flying this ship through here, but yeah, so I think this is quite nice. We've got a torque power of 10. I'm actually going at very high velocities in here, and it's difficult to control the ship at this sort of speed, but you can see what how fast you can go through. Right, okay, let's just not wait any more let's not waste any more time. So this is one of the atmospheres, and there's these two as well. The problem that I've got with this sort of cheap way of making an atmosphere for a planet, it will because it's a Niagara system, depending on where your camera is, the atmosphere will change its position. So for example, if I'm on this side, the atmosphere has changed its position that way. And I'll show you how you can lock its face, so its angle, so it always faces in one direction. But right now, I just wanted to show you how the scene is composed. This one is obviously in full light at every given point. These other two are masked. And over here we have the normal atmosphere that Unreal Engine comes with, and this is obviously a far more superior material and system. but I have created, as I said, a sort of a fake effect of the atmosphere that doesn't require any fancy plugins or anything like that. It just works as a Niagara system. It's very basic, but it really does the job if you have some preset cameras that you're trying to achieve. So the reason why you would want to have extra atmospheres is because you cannot have more than one of these in the scene. And there is on Unreal Engine Marketplace, there is a atmosphere project that you can buy that allows you to have multiple atmospheres, but there's some other tricks employed to allow for that to happen. But as of now, you can only have one of these from Epic inside your scene. And as I said, you can now create these extra ones with the help of my tutorial. So, okay, let's begin. Let's have a look at how the material was made and how the Niagara system is set up to allow for these to be created. As per usual, like I've said before, you can download this map from my ArtStation Marketplace or from Gumroad if you want to have all of these things already done. So this particular project comes with this neutron star in which you will have that atmosphere around it and the rays coming through, and there's also some fire churning through the surface of the planet as well. You can see it there. Each of these are Niagara systems. The planet itself has a very complicated shader that I've released a tutorial last week, in a 2-part tutorial in which it shows you how you can make this part. But you're also getting this planet, which, has got some shadows casted on it from these asteroids. This is because the scale of the scene isn't as big as I usually use. But you can disable those shadows by just disabling the shadows on the shadow cast on the asteroids themselves. And yeah, let's begin the material and the Niagara system. Okay, I'm just going to create a new material. Just gonna say M tutorial Atmos, just for the sake of it, and I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to bring it over here, the panel over here, and we're going to start adding some nodes. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to change your material to a translucent surface, and you want to click the two-sided option as well, and also move it to unlit. And that's the setup for this material. And the next thing we want to do is bring in a particle color, because again, this is a Niagara system, so we'll need to access the particle color, and we can bring this over into our emissive color, and we also need to use the alpha of this particle color. So we can add a multiply node, and we can put that into the first link. We need to duplicate the node, and then this one goes into A. And I want to bring in a sphere mask. This is going to help us to mask the material on whatever side we want to, give that effect of the atmosphere, that there's the planet is blocking some of the light that's hitting it. This is why I'm saying that this can only be used from certain angles. But before we actually commit to this, I'm just going to connect the multiply over into this opacity, because this multiply will only work with the sphere mask. So we're going to do that as a sort of a second step. But then over into this multiply, I want to bring a power node and connect it to the B value. And then we're going to use some gradient exponential node, and this can connect into the base. And I want to bring in a dynamic parameter. This dynamic parameter, we've got parameter 1 and parameter 2. Parameter 1, we can rename that to density, and then parameter 2, we can rename that to power. I can connect the power to the AXP and the density to the density of the radial gradient. And in the radial gradient UVs, we want to bring a vector to radial value. And this node, we take its linear distance and we plug it into the UVs. Now, the material doesn't really look like much over here. We do have this button where you can switch to a cube projection, so you can see how the material is looking like. And you can see it's very reminiscent of our atmosphere. Now, if we click the dynamic parameter, we can set some default values, and I'm going to put that to 0.1. and leave the rest as 111. That's, they're fine that way. Now, this is, the material is pretty much done in the sense of if you want to, if this is what you want. Now, you can see it's very faint over there. I believe there's an option here to disable the disable lights. I'll put the lights to black, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We've got the material, which is going to apply. And then in our, let me just take the material away. In our content browser, let's create a Niagara system, a new system from selected emitters, and you can actually, pretty much have this as an empty, and then click finish, and I'm gonna call it NS Tutorial Atmos, and that's for the atmosphere. And now we need to add our material, the one that we just created, this one. We need to add it into our Niagara system. We will now double click the Niagara system, and let's just make some modifications to it. Now, one thing actually that I want to do is I want to drag it within our scene, just anywhere around here. Okay, so we can see something once we start adding some elements to it. Okay, so the first thing, what we've got is there's nothing to add to the emitter spawn, but you do have to add something to the emitter update. So we've got an emitter state, which is set to system. Now we want to set that to self, and then move the loop behavior to once, and leave that to fixed. I will put the loop duration to 2, although it's not really important. And then we want to add a spawn burst instantaneous. Anyway, you get what I mean. It's just going to spawn a particle once, so that's what it's going to be. In the sprite render, we want to bring the material that we've just created, which is the M Tutorial Atmos. I believe if I go into window and click the preview, I should be able to see something. Although it's not showing up as of yet. But then let's just have a look into our initialized particle. This is where we can set the color mode to a direct set. Maybe put that to something like 50. So you can see it now. It's really faint, but it's there. Yeah. And then you want to set up the size, which again, you can set the size depending on how big your planet is. So I don't know if you're going to make this very large, or maybe not so large. Maybe let's just put it somewhere around there, or maybe that's too large. Okay, right. Now if we look into the scene, we've actually added the particle. I don't know how big it is though. It's probably not big enough. So let's just add 2 more zeros, and then yeah, okay. So that's pretty big. I think that should be enough there for us to see it. And you can see that it just disappears randomly from the scene, and that's that could be something to do with our emitter. Where is it now? Emitter update in emitter properties. So it's really depending on if you have it as a GPU compute or a CPU. But actually, let's just see if we can find the reason why our particle system is disappearing. It could just be because it's actually being killed off. So one of the things you got here is particle update, where it says kill particles when lifetime is over. So if you actually deactivate that, this is no longer going to kill the particle. And you can see that's now showing up in here, and as I said, it won't disappear anymore, and we're only spawning one particle anyway, so that's not really it's not really a problem if we keep it that way. You can see it's got this infinite sort of loop to it now as well. Okay, now one thing that you can also add is a solve forces and velocity, and you only need to use that in case you want to set its facing value, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. And then also you want to add the dynamic material parameters, and this will allow you to change some of the settings that you could do in the material. So for example, we can put the density, let's put the density to 1, and oh, I think I just had a crash. Thank you, Unreal. I'm just gonna redo everything until this point, and then just see you guys in just a second. Don't you just love Unreal Engine Preview? Honestly, it is so unstable, I can't believe it. And we're back. So in the density over here, we want to put maybe a 0.5 and the power of 1. If we have a look now, that is going to be our material. Let me just try and get a bit closer to it. And you can see how it looks like. And if you do change these parameters over here, let me just try and make this panel a bit smaller. So these parameters will have an effect, as you can see. It definitely has an effect if you want a fainter effect, or for example, the power. If you decrease it, you can see what's happening. So I'll leave it at 1 and a density of 0.5. The other two parameters have nothing because they're not connected to anything. But that is basically the material. Well, you've got. So let me just show you. So in the initialized particle over here, what you can see. Let me just make this panel smaller. Yeah. So what you're seeing over here, you've got an alpha. So you can set that to, again, that will affect the faint of the particle itself. Then you've got colors. So for example, you can switch this to whatever color you want. So let's make it something like that, very purplish. And you've got the size, so you can set the size from here. If, for example, you've got an angle as well, if you were masking it like I've done there, you can actually set an angle. So you've got this sprite reset rotation. It's normally set to put one set, but you can go to direct angle and then you just put whatever angle you want. It doesn't matter if I put an angle right now because obviously it's fully, round. But if we have a look again in our material, let me just bring that over. We do have the sphere mask and we can actually use that. What we would need is a texture coordinate node and put it into the A value. Okay. Then with number 2 on the keyboard being pressed, press left click over here to add a node with 2 values for a color. We can put that into our B value. I want the R and G to be 0.5. Okay. And then the radius and hardness is really up to you what you want, but normally you can play to let's just 2.5 and 0. So 0 hardness means that it's very smooth, and then the radius will sort of mean how much does what's the radius of the actual sphere mask. So if we plug that over into the opacity and press apply, what you'll notice now is that the material will be masked, or should have been. Let me just try a value of 1 and then apply. And for some reason it's not masking it. I'm not really sure. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I need to put the U tiling to 5 and leave the V tiling to 1. So let's press apply now again. And yeah, you can see that it's masked, but it's masked a bit too much. So let's try a 2.5 value over here. You can obviously put parameters to these. And now you can see, well, actually, I'm just going to go and play a bit with the density in my dynamic parameters and put it at 1 so we can see it a lot better. So you can see now that it's masked. But the problem is, as I've said to you, if I move, it will move with the camera, right? Now, there is a solution to this problem in the material, in the Niagara system. If you select sprite render, you do have facing mode, which is generally to one of these options. But if you do put it as a custom facing vector, and if you have this sprite facing and alignment on, so added and actually on, you can select which way does the alignment of this always. So right now it's 1, -1, 0. You could put that to, for example, 9, -1. Whatever you do, it will just change the alignment, and you've just got to play around with it. But let's say you don't want to play around with these settings because they're not very, you've put it in whatever sort of you want it on the X, you want it on the Z value, for example, right? So, well, actually, right now it's a -1 on the Y value, so that's fine, okay? But let's say you want this to turn all the way around. Well, that's fine. You can go into your initialized particle, and then you can have a look at the sprite rotation and you've got an angle. So if you put that to 90 degrees, you can see that I've now moved it. If I put it to 180, then it's facing the other way around. So that's also very useful. But as I've said, the problem is that if you do it this way, now let me just, it's going to be difficult for me to bring a planet, but let me just go very close. Sorry, I'm trying to select a planet here. And let me just get closer. Okay, so you can see over here we have this atmosphere, right? And what I can do is I can double click this atmosphere, which will obviously bring me the Niagara system for it. And if let me just save so I don't lose the work. But if I activate the sprite facing an alignment, and then I also go into my my sprite render and make sure that this is set to custom facing vector, then, you know, that's where it's showing up right now. Let me just go into my initialized particle and maybe do a 180 degrees turn. Okay, so now it's turned, but you can see that is now sitting there. That atmosphere is now sitting there as it's supposed to be. So it's no longer moving with the camera, but you can see that it's created this really harsh line because it's just a plane. It's not a cube, it's not a sphere or whatever. It's just a plane. So if you guys actually have a way of creating this as a sphere, I know there is a way. I've not been able to do it as of yet. But if you guys find a way to make this as a sort of a sphere and then we sort of mask only one side of it, then that would pretty much resolve the issue that we currently have. But that's why this looks good at an angle if you're using it this way. If you, however, disable the sprite facing and alignment, then it will just go back to whatever default value. I'm just going to put this to 0. And now you no longer have this problem because it is now moving with your camera position as you go around it. So it will always sort of look okay. But then it also means that you're going to have this where the shadow is as well. So that's a bit of a problem. That's something that this normal atmosphere does not have this issue because it knows where the directional light comes from. One of the ideas to fix this for me, and I'll show you. Let's just go to our atmosphere, our pink atmosphere over here, and double clicking it, bring back the Niagara system and deactivate the sprite facing. I don't know why I have this twice, to be honest. I'm just going to deactivate it. With that deactivated, obviously it's no longer, it's just moving with the camera now. One sort of idea that I had was to bring in a sky atmosphere light direction and a dot product. And the idea was that I would link this over into my A value and the texture coordinate into this A value over here, and then just press apply. And if I do that, well, for one, you know, I can control L and move the directional light around. Sorry, but as you can see, as I do that, you know, it's not actually accurate where the light is. So right now the light is above and it just makes this sphere really shiny. Now the light is on the right and the actual atmosphere is on the left, which is not right. It should be on the right. So that's kind of the problem. I mean, I guess I could do an inverse and maybe that will sort of, you know, invert this connection over here in the dot product. But either way, as I said, if you guys have a solution for this might be the sort of the way to go. So we're masking the area that the light. So we're masking the area that the light is not shining on because it's in shadow. And that's how the directional sort of, if the directional light is on the left, then we need it to mask the right of the atmosphere. So that's something that I'm trying to work out right now. But in the meantime, as I've said, you can still use this with a normal sphere mask without the complication of a sky atmosphere light direction. But you're still gonna be able to set up scenes where you have a set camera that's looking at this stuff from a certain direction. But that concludes our tutorial for how to create a very cheap atmosphere on top of a planet, around the planet in Unreal Engine 5 or 4. It doesn't matter, it works in any of them. But I do hope you guys found this tutorial useful, and I would really like to thank my Patreons for supporting me and helping me to make these videos, and be able to concentrate a lot more on this content, because they make that happen. It's really nice to be able to see something for the work that I put into this, and it's going somewhere right now. All I could say is you can have access to pretty much all of this content by joining Patreon. If not, you can go on the ArtStation store, or you can go on the Gumroad store, and you can get these projects for yourself. I've got quite a few of them right now, and there will be more being added. Stay tuned for an upcoming tutorial on how to set up a spaceship in space, obviously, and how to control it and how to fly it around, just like you're seeing in the video. But yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I do hope you've learned something. I've definitely learned quite a lot putting all these things together. And I think going forward, I'm going to make even more interesting scenarios and scenes. And, I'm actually looking at bringing in volumetrics and bringing in, space lightning storms and nebulas with volumetrics and all sorts of things. I'm just testing and trying to push all these boundaries to create truly epic and immersive space scenes. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video. So, keep traveling through space and learn new things, and share them with us as well. Join the Discord channel and let us know what you think. Let us know what you need help with. I'll try and help you as best as I can. You can ask everybody on Discord that I've actually put quite a bit of time with everybody, answering their questions and going through their own projects with them, myself, and trying to work out their problems. I'll see you in the next one.